Steam in the 21st century, Europe's heritage locomotives still running. The year is 2025. Across Europe, sleek electric trains glide silently at 200 miles per hour. And yet, somewhere in the mist of the Scottish highlands or the forests of Germany, a sound from another century still echoes. The hiss of steam, the roar of fire, the whistle that once ruled the rails. These aren't museum pieces, they're survivors. Living, breathing machines kept alive by people who refuse to let history die, even as the world races ahead without them. Before we dive into the locomotives themselves, let me paint you a picture of what we're really talking about here. These aren't museum pieces sitting behind glass. These are working machines, locomotives that weigh hundreds of tons, operate at temperatures exceeding 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, and generate enough power to haul a dozen passenger cars up mountain grades. They're complex, dangerous, and expensive to maintain, and in a world designed for modern traction, keeping them running is like maintaining a fleet of World War II bombers. Possible, but incredibly difficult. Yet across Europe, from the Scottish highlands to the forests of Poland, from the Swiss Alps to the beaches of Wales, steam locomotives are still running, still hauling passengers, still turning heads. But the question is, how? How do you keep a technology from the 1920s operational in 2025? And more importantly, why? But here's the twist. The answer isn't just about preserving history. It's about something deeper, something that electric trains and diesel engines can never replicate: the soul of the machine. Let's start in the United Kingdom, because if there's one country that's obsessed with steam locomotives, it's Britain. The UK has over 100 operational heritage railways, more than any other country in Europe. These aren't just tourist attractions. They're living museums, staffed by thousands of volunteers who dedicate their weekends, their savings, and sometimes their entire lives to keeping steam alive. Take the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. This 18-mile line runs through some of the most beautiful countryside in England, and it's hauled by locomotives that are 70, 80, even 100 years old engines, like the LNERK 1 class, built in 1949, or the LMS Black 5, built in the 1930s. These machines run daily services during the summer season, hauling thousands of passengers. But here's what you don't see: the maintenance. Every steam locomotive requires a complete overhaul every 10 years. That's not an oil change, that's a full teardown. The boiler has to be removed, inspected, and pressure tested. Every tube, every valve, every rivet has to be examined. Cracks are repaired, worn parts are replaced. And here's the kicker: many of these parts don't exist anymore. They have to be custom fabricated by skilled machinists using techniques from a century ago. The cost? A major overhaul can run anywhere from $500,000 to over $2 million, depending on the locomotive, and that's just to keep it certified to run for another decade. Fuel, crew training, insurance, track maintenance. It all adds up. Running a heritage railway isn't a business. It's a labor of love, funded by ticket sales, donations, and an army of volunteers. But the UK isn't alone. Germany has its own thriving steam preservation scene, and it's every bit as impressive. The Harz narrow gauge railways in central Germany operate one of the largest steam-powered networks in Europe. Over 80 miles of track, all hauled by steam locomotives. These aren't just summer tourist trains. These are year-round services, running in snow, rain, and freezing temperatures. The locomotives, mostly DR Class 99 engines, built in the 1950s, are workhorses. They haul passengers up the Brocken, the highest peak in the Harz Mountains, on grades that would make modern trains struggle. What makes the Harz system special is that it's integrated into the regional transport network. You can use a regular train ticket to ride these steam services. It's not a museum, it's actual public transportation, powered by steam in the 21st century. But maintaining these locomotives in Germany comes with its own challenges. German regulations are strict. Every component has to meet modern safety standards. Boilers are inspected annually. Crews have to be certified. And the environmental regulations? They're getting tighter every year. Coal smoke isn't exactly popular with modern environmental standards. So how do they keep running? Innovation. Some heritage railways are experimenting with cleaner burning coal. Others are exploring biofuels that can be used in steam locomotives. And a few are even testing hydrogen-powered steam generation, though that's still experimental. The point is, steam preservation in the 21st century isn't about stubbornly clinging to the past. It's about adapting old technology to meet modern standards while preserving the experience. Now let's head to Switzerland, because the Swiss have taken steam preservation to another level entirely. Switzerland is famous for its scenic railways, the Glacier Express, the Bernina Express. These are modern trains running through spectacular alpine scenery, but scattered throughout the Swiss Alps are heritage steam railways that offer something different. The Brienz-Rothorn Railway, for example, is a rack railway that climbs over 7,000 feet using steam locomotives built in the early 1900s. These aren't replicas, these are the original locomotives, meticulously maintained and still hauling passengers up grades that reach 25%. That's 1 foot of elevation gain for every 4 feet of track. Modern diesel or electric trains could do it easier, but they wouldn't have the character, the drama, the sheer spectacle of watching a steam locomotive work its guts out to climb a mountain. The Swiss approach to steam preservation is different from the UK or Germany. In Switzerland, heritage railways are often integrated into the tourism industry. They're marketed as premium experiences. You're not just riding a train, you're experiencing living history, and people pay for it. A round trip on the Brienz-Rothorn Railway costs over $100 per person, but it's worth it because you're not just buying a train ride, you're buying a connection to the past. But let's talk about the real heroes of European steam preservation, the volunteers, because without them, none of this would exist. Take the Festiniog Railway in Wales. This narrow-gauge railway has been running since 1836. Making it one of the oldest operational railways in the world. It was abandoned in the 1940s, left to rust and decay. But in the 1950s, a group of volunteers decided to bring it back. They cleared the tracks, rebuilt the bridges, restored the locomotives. And today, the Festiniog Railway is one of the most successful heritage railways in the UK, carrying over 200,000 passengers a year. The volunteers aren't just enthusiasts. They're skilled tradespeople. Boilermakers, machinists, welders, carpenters. Many of them learn their trades specifically to work on steam locomotives. They spend their weekends in workshops covered in grease and coal dust, fabricating parts that haven't been manufactured in 70 years. And they do it for free, because they love it, because they believe these machines deserve to survive, because they understand that once these locomotives are gone, they're gone forever. Now, let's head east. Because Central Europe and the Baltics have their own incredible steam preservation stories. Poland has one of the most active steam scenes in Europe. The Wolsztyn depot is famous because it's one of the last places in Europe where steam locomotives were used for regular commercial service until 2014. Today, it's a heritage center, but the locomotives still run, and they run hard. Polish steam enthusiasts have access to locomotives that are rare or extinct in Western Europe. Soviet-built engines, German war locomotives, Polish-designed machines. The variety is incredible, and because Poland's economy is still developing, labor costs are lower, which means restoration projects that would be prohibitively expensive in the UK or Germany are more feasible in Poland. The result? Poland has become a destination for serious steam enthusiasts. You can charter entire trains, ride behind locomotives that haven't run in Western Europe for decades, experience steam in a way that's becoming increasingly rare. The Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania also have small but dedicated steam preservation communities. The challenge there is different. These countries were part of the Soviet Union, and their railway infrastructure was built to Russian standards, including a different track gauge. That means locomotives and parts aren't interchangeable with the rest of Europe, but the passion is the same. Small groups of volunteers keeping history alive against incredible odds. But let's address the elephant in the room. Why? Why go through all this effort, expense, and heartache to keep 100-year-old machines running? In a world of electric trains and environmental concerns, why does steam matter? The answer is complicated. Part of it is history. These locomotives represent an era when engineering was art, when machines were built to last generations, not just a few years. They're tangible connections to the Industrial Revolution, to World War II, to the golden age of rail travel. Part of it is education. Riding behind a steam locomotive teaches you how things work. You see the fire, you hear the pistons, you feel the power. It's mechanical engineering you can understand, unlike the black box electronics of modern trains. But the real answer? It's the experience. There's something primal about steam, the sound, the smell, the sight of smoke and steam billowing into the sky. It engages your senses in a way that modern trains simply don't. When you ride behind a steam locomotive, you're not just a passenger, you're part of the experience. And that's why these machines are still used for film and television. When a director needs to evoke a certain era, a certain feeling, they don't use CGI, they use real steam locomotives. The Harry Potter films used the Jacobite steam train in Scotland. Countless period dramas have featured heritage railways because nothing looks, sounds, or feels like the real thing. But the future of steam preservation faces serious challenges. The biggest? People. The generation that grew up with steam locomotives, that worked on them professionally, is dying out. The skills required to maintain these machines are disappearing. Boilermaking, for example, is a dying trade. There are fewer and fewer people who know how to properly inspect and repair a steam locomotive boiler. Heritage railways are fighting back by training the next generation. Apprenticeship programs, workshops, partnerships with technical colleges. They're teaching young people skills that were common 70 years ago but are rare today. Because if those skills die, steam dies with them. The second challenge is regulatory. Modern safety standards weren't written with steam locomotives in mind. Asbestos, once commonly used for insulation, is now banned. Lead paint, same thing. Even the coal itself is becoming problematic as environmental regulations tighten. Heritage railways have to navigate a maze of regulations designed for modern equipment while operating century-old technology. And then there's money. Always money. Heritage railways operate on shoestring budgets. Ticket sales cover operating costs, but major overhauls require fundraising campaigns, grants, and donations. Every locomotive that reaches the end of its 10-year certification period faces an existential question. Can we afford to overhaul it, or does it become a static display? Some locomotives don't make it. They're too expensive to restore, too far gone. They end up in museums, beautiful but silent. And every time that happens, a little bit of living history dies. But here's the thing. Despite all these challenges, steam is surviving. New locomotives are even being built. We talked about Tornado in the UK, a brand new A1 class locomotive built from scratch using 1940s blueprints. In Germany, a group is building a new Class 52 war locomotive. These projects prove that the skills, the passion, and the determination still exist, and ridership is growing. Heritage railways across Europe are seeing record numbers. Young families want their kids to experience steam. Railway enthusiasts travel from around the world to ride specific locomotives, and filmmakers keep coming back because nothing else looks like steam. So what's the future? I think steam preservation will continue, but it will evolve. We'll see more use of sustainable fuels, more integration with modern tourism infrastructure, more emphasis on education and experience rather than just nostalgia. And we'll see continued innovation. 3D printing is already being used to fabricate rare parts. Digital scanning is creating archives of components that can be reproduced if originals are lost. Modern materials are being carefully integrated, where they improve safety without compromising authenticity. The locomotives themselves will become more precious. As the fleet ages and overhauls become more expensive, we'll see fewer locomotives in operation, but higher quality experiences. Think less about riding any steam train and more about riding a specific, historically significant locomotive, but the core experience will remain. The fire, the steam, the whistle, the raw mechanical power of a machine that turns heat and water into motion. That's timeless. That's what keeps people coming back. What's your favorite heritage railway in Europe? Have you ridden behind steam? And if not, which locomotive would you most want to experience? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Europe's living steam heritage, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got more incredible railway stories coming your way. Until next time, keep chasing steam.